Hey guys, so I just want to do a video about like my thoughts on the Direct and everything that's happened, after the Direct and with the Direct and everything. So first off, I just have to say I got totally fooled by the Grinch Leak. I think a lot of people got fooled by the Grinch Leak, so I'm not ashamed to admit that. I think it was probably, I said this before, like the greatest fake leak of all time because I really thought it was unfakeable. There was so much going for it in its favor, like evidence-wise, so I'm not ashamed to have logically come to the conclusion that it was probably real. However, now it wasn't. It was fake. There was so much going for it, though, and some things were just like dumb luck things that it just happened to get going for it. So not to spend too much time going over everything about it right now, is obviously it's fake, so what's the point? But I do want to just go over some of the things it had going for it that made it seem completely unfakeable. That's what I called it. I called it unfakeable. But its character choices, having their copyrights renewed, that was pretty impressive to have looked all that up. The characters themselves being made with Isaac had he was using a vine, he was using his Jin. We had the chorus kids with the composer. That was a completely unique idea. I hadn't ever heard before anyone say that. Gino was a bit smaller than he's usually shown because he's like a doll character. I mean, that leak had so much interesting things with just the characters and the character choices in the banner. Ken had the same pose, or a very similar pose to the pose that he actually got. So even while I was watching the Direct, when I saw him added to the banner and Sakurai said that was all the characters, I was still perplexed at how did it guess that. And honestly, I mean, look up Ken on Google Images, and him doing an uppercut punch doesn't even come up in the Google Images as one of the top images for him. So they got extremely lucky there. They got lucky with ACP PLV never coming out and saying they weren't working on Smash. I mean, maybe they were working on Smash. Maybe this was an inside job and somebody used, some of the actual material around the company. It does feel like it had to have actually come from within that company, and also to have a leak that links itself back to that company, to an actual person that 2 years ago worked for a company that actually worked for Namco. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy to do, for one thing, but it's a crazy amount of evidence that just kept stacking up. Linking it back to the Grinch, who ended up being at Comic-Con UK, so it was is promotional material being made for Nintendo and the Grinch in the same company. The Grinch being made by Illuminations, which is making the Mario movie, so that made sense to everyone. It was just so much stuff stacking up in favor of this, and there was even things that it couldn't control. We got that Sprout item shown in the Wendy's bus tour video, so a lot of people assumed it was for Golden Sun, a sprout that turns into a vine from Golden Sun, which is even what Isaac was shown using on the banner art. So that was just there was no way for them to fake that. That was just something that luckily coincided with it. We also had people saying that the banner kind of cut itself off back when Isabelle was revealed, right where Isaac should be, which really led a lot of people to believe Isaac was cut. In Isabelle's reveal, she wasn't even shown an animation adding her to the banner, so it also felt like somebody might have been cut from that Direct. There was ACP PLV taking down a video of their office and how it functioned from a bank. That was just kind of weird, and them not coming out and saying that they're not, working on Smash it really made me sit with, man, if they weren't working on this and they want the heat off them, they would just come out and say it, and they didn't. The guy who it linked back to, his old company, did come out and say that, so I was just waiting for ACP PLV to say it, and they weren't, so that was really what was holding me to this one. All the things debunking it were more things about the background being slightly off, but honestly, the background might have been changed. They even showed an empty background, so I was thinking, and they showed what it was probably being used for, which was a sky tube, I think it's called, which is something that would be illuminated, so I thought, well, maybe Nintendo gives them permission to switch up the background, switch up the art a bit, so that it can be illuminated correctly. We had pieces of known characters that we hadn't seen because they were blocked in the banner, being recreated and fully drawn. So somebody took a ton of time to do this, linked it back to real world things, and got extremely lucky. So yeah, I'm not ashamed to have been tricked by this one. This one was, again, the greatest fake leak of all time. It is disappointing we didn't get it. I was really hoping for it, but yeah, not ashamed to have gotten tricked by it. As far as so insiders and stuff who were saying, not to believe it, I will say a lot of people who seem to have inside information were also just confused by it. Many people who seem to have behind the scenes info were saying Incineroar should be on there, but that they couldn't totally like debunk it. It wasn't until close to the direct that like literally the day before that a few people started coming out and saying that you know, Isaac was an assist trophy. Emily Rogers said that, and Vergeben said that, but Isaac being the only one that they seem to come out and say, oh, definitely an assist trophy, so it can't be real, wasn't super conclusive to me, because there's an old Isaac, there's a young Isaac, there's Matthew who looks like Isaac, so there was a lot of things that may have been off, even if they had seen Isaac, or if they had seen, like, you know, I didn't know what they had seen or heard, so maybe there was like a list of assist trophies from like the strategy guide or something, and just says Isaac. Again, it could be old Isaac, could be young Isaac, so nothing was coming out super definitive here, in my opinion, that was debunking it. Game Explain wasn't really touching it much, and I said that if they didn't really touch it too hard, I had to make assumptions on what that could mean, and I assumed that meant it was likely real. What it seems to have meant was that they probably didn't want to overhype things, because that just wasn't even close to what we were going to get. I'd also heard from, you know, other people who came to me, just people saying that, oh, I have inside information, or I've talked to someone who works here or there, saying that Nintendo seemed really angry about the Grinch Leak. And once again, I took that to assume, oh, that probably means it's real, but it appears now that that might have been right. Nintendo might have been angry about it, but they were probably angry about it because of how unrealistic it was getting everyone's expectations. Now, I personally apologize if you guys got really hyped up for it. I mean, I did too, so, you know, I'm also disappointed, but I do apologize if that happened from watching my videos, but literally, I was just laying all the evidence out there, and I did tell everyone, draw your own conclusions on this, but it really did seem like that one was right. Just to show how many people were kind of on board with the Grinch Leak, I remember Smashboards a few days ago did like a poll of how many people think the Grinch Leak is real, how many people think it's fake, and it was like 70% plus were thinking it was real. I also, when I first did a video on the Grinch Leak, I had tons of comments telling me to, you know, take the characters off of the thumbnail. No, I just used random images of the characters from the banner. I didn't actually use the banner art itself in the thumbnail, and people got, you know, angry about that. And I did that for all my thumbnails. I even did that for my thumbnails about Box Theory, and nobody seemed to mind. And Box Theory is exactly what we got, Ken and Incineroar, and they're in tons of my thumbnails. But people really thought the Grinch Leak was real, and, you know, were telling me to take that off the thumbnail. And, you know, I don't know, man. It's just, I guess we just all have to admit this was the best fake of all time. And again, I'm just not ashamed of it. It seems a huge portion of the fan base was tricked by it. I was tricked by it, and yeah, we just have to, you know, move forward, move past it, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. So I've said this before, but this channel has always been about trying to figure out what the roster is. Now, I got totally fooled by the Grinch Leak, but I really was going all in with it, because following the evidence and just logical analysis, and, you know, if you've watched my old videos and how many people got tricked by it, you know, was leading to that direction. And I was trying to dig as deep as possible and figure out this roster for us. Obviously, I was wrong there, but, you know, that was the whole point of that. I wanted to go all in. I want to tell you guys exactly how I felt, because while it was safer to say, you know, the Grinch Leak was fake, it was safer to say, you know, that I don't know either way and just fail safe it. I want to tell you guys exactly how I felt about it, and, you know, present the evidence in that way. So I hope you guys don't hold me too accountable for that. I am sorry if I hyped it up to anybody too much, but yeah, that was the point. I was trying to figure out the roster. I was leading us down the evidence trail, and unfortunately with Smash, it's not always super logical. You know, Sakurai goes out of left field all the time with stuff. Box Theory was also very logical, but right up at the end there, the Grinch Leak had gained a ton of evidence, so that's where I was at with it. And yeah, I'm not ashamed of being tricked by it again, but my goal was always to figure out the roster, and that's where things led me right before this direct. Most of the stuff trying to debunk it was to scrutinize the image itself, but it was a blurry Snapchat image screen capture of something that was supposedly printed out onto a promotional material. Printed things use ink, obviously, so there can be discrepancies. Again, it's a blurry photo. It was a very small image. So there was a lot of reasons that, you know, people who were going, I don't know, man, if you really look at it, there's some problems with, like, the background and stuff was usually what people would bring up. You know, I couldn't use that to debunk it. That just wasn't solid enough, in my opinion. I still say, you know, if it was real, that sort of stuff wouldn't have been how to debunk it. It would be trying to get rid of all that other evidence it had going for it, which was just crazy. Again, things lined up just circumstantially. They got lucky, and a lot of stuff it did, you know, led back to a company and to a person. So whoever the faker is, they did a great job, but honestly, they might get in a lot of trouble if they ever get found out. I had my own source coming to me telling me that they had a source who couldn't totally debunk it. They had heard the characters on it. Now, I don't know what heard the characters means exactly. We were taking that as, this could potentially be real, and that seems to be what my source's source did think as well. But hearing about characters, we do know that, people hear about characters but don't know if they're assist trophies or playable or bosses or what. That happens a lot, and my source's source is supposedly a Microsoft source, so pretty removed from Nintendo itself, but they were still said that they were sure of Banjo and that they had heard Incineroar. We did get Incineroar, so now I do still trust my source, and I'll talk more about that later, but we are now just kind of back to thinking Banjo is probably DLC, which is what my source thought initially before the Grinch Leak came out. They thought we'd get box theory, they were 50-50 on whether or not we'd get a Square rep, and that Banjo would probably be DLC. So now my thoughts on the Direct itself. My initial feelings were, it's strange. It was a bit of disappointment, though I loved watching a bunch of the stuff that was happening in it. The DLC characters gets me really excited because I get to continue speculating and thinking about stuff, looking at leaks and possibilities and stuff, and that's one of my favorite things about Smash. So having the DLC fighters still unknown, but knowing we're going to get 5 of them, and that's just really exciting for me. The characters we did get, Ken is my favorite character from Street Fighter. If I play Street Fighter, I play as Ken. So, I'm excited and happy we got Ken. I'm not huge on Incineroar, but I love his moveset. Having a wrestler character is really cool, so I do think he's going to be really fun to play as and everything, and I love the Ken and Incineroar trailer. I'm a huge Little Mac fan. So I haven't gone over this too much this speculation round because Little Mac's already in the game, but back in the Brawl days, there were 3 characters I really wanted, and it was Geno, Little Mac, and Banjo-Kazooie. I always thought Geno and Banjo-Kazooie were the tougher ones to get in, but I really thought Little Mac at least would get into Brawl, and he didn't. He was an assist trophy, so that was a real bummer. But then Smash 4, I got Little Mac. I dressed up as Little Mac when the game was released. I main Little Mac despite all his recovery problems, and I'm really excited with what he looks like in Smash Ultimate. So I've been excited about that the whole time since I saw E3, and he appeared to be better. So yeah, I do still have like a main in this game. I do still have a character from a series, Punch Out, that is near and dear to my heart that I absolutely love. So I was really happy to see Little Mac in that trailer. It was just cool. Anything Little Mac, anything Punch Out is always really awesome for me. So I was happy to see that really cool CGI trailer with him in it, and I'm still excited to play the game and play as that character, even though I don't get Geno, and Banjo-Kazooie and Geno may have to wait till DLC or whatever. I'll talk about that in a bit. So ever since Box Theory started gaining steam, for like a month or two there, I was thinking that was probably what we were going to get right up until the Grinch Leak took everything and made me start looking at that. But so I thought we were going to get the Box Theory, which was just Ken and Incineroar, but I always thought we'd get some other character. Unfortunately, I thought it was going to be Geno, but we got Piranha Plant. So my initial disappointment, over that character, but really looking at Piranha Plant, I actually think it's a really awesome character. I just think the reveal of these 3 characters at the end wasn't the best Sakurai could have done. We could have gotten the Castlevania characters. It was the day after Halloween. If he had saved the Castlevania characters, maybe shown us Piranha Plant back in the August trailer or something, probably would have been better. I'm still super excited for the game. Like, I was disappointed a bit in the Direct, but super excited in the game. That's I guess, the best way I can say it. It didn't at all take the wind out of my sails for thinking the game's awesome. I just think they, revealed the characters kind of off, revealed the things about the game kind of off. I mean, we knew all the stages last time. We had all the music. I wish they had said something about all the assist trophies. Maybe they didn't have them ready in time, but it was like a lot of people were holding hope for characters. Spirits mode, I got 100% right. So my first source who told me about spirits being like stickers, and I made that video, 100% right. That was an actual leak someone gave to me. My second source, who's talking about Banjo, also said spirits act like stickers, and they agreed with me on that. So again, I'll talk more about my sources later, but yeah, that one was 100% right. I do wish Spirit Mode and I just felt like this Direct, everything in this Direct should have probably been in August, because if Spirit Mode and they'd shown all assist trophies and they'd saved like the total count of music, the total count of stages for this one, and maybe the Belmonts, that probably would have, I think, gone over better. Just the order of the hype cycle, I just feel like would have been better that way. If you show Spirits Mode, if you show the assist trophies, it kind of would, it loses hope for a lot of the characters, but that's sort of better to do early on, like, pull that Band-Aid off, because a lot of people are hoping for Skull Kid and Shadow and stuff, and Isaac, and all those got deconfirmed as assist trophies. Skull Kid wasn't even deconfirmed in the Direct, deconfirmed on the website afterwards, and then the Spirits just went through, like, everybody. I don't know if Spirits deconfirm characters. We'll have to see who is and who isn't a Spirit, but looking at everything, it seems like all the major characters have been deconfirmed as spirits. Shantae, Dixie Kong. There's a Waddle Dee spirit, but there's not a Bandana Waddle Dee spirit, at least that we've seen. So he might be the one sole survivor here. And then there's Geno. Geno has only been seen as like a token icon thing that like represents you in like certain modes and probably for your online like badge card or whatever. So I don't know. I think Geno's still in the running, but we'll see if he's a spirit or not. And even if he is, again, I don't know if spirits deconfirm characters or not. I'm kind of up in the air about it. If they don't, I think Shantae, Dixie Kong, potentially Geno, whether or not he's a spirit, and we'll see if there's a Bandana Waddle Dee, are all still in the running. But if they do deconfirm characters, and if Geno is one, you know, that's unfortunate. I really want Geno still, and it would appear that most of the DLC characters are going to be third party if that's the case. So we'll have to see. So far, I feel like Waddle Dee or Bandana Waddle Dee and Geno are kind of the lone survivors for potential DLC characters. So again, I was totally right about spirits acting like stickers. I thought that mode would be more of like a one-player mode, but we did get that. We got the World of Light, and that appears to be where you use the spirits and stickers mostly. So yeah, I mean, that is happening. I am excited for a one-player mode. I know a lot of people missed Subspace Emissary, so you know, getting one of those modes back, really fun one-player mode. I'm excited to play through that. We'll probably play through it in PapaGenos Bros, so that should be fun to do. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of good stuff in this Direct. I just think it was 40 minutes long. It was two characters that, I mean, even if they hadn't leaked at all whatsoever, I think Ken and Incineroar are still kind of a whimper to go out on. And Piranha Plant, well, it's a wacky Sakurai character, kind of a retro rep, honestly, and I think its moveset looks really dope. I honestly think he looks really cool. I just think that's just not the three to end on in the cycle that gave us Ridley, K. Rool, Simon Belmont, Snake back, all the characters back. You know, it was just kind of a weak end to such a strong game. So once again, I think the game is fantastic, amazing. I have no complaints. It's more just the marketing cycle probably should have been mixed up, in my opinion. There's a lot of time spent on spirits and stickers, a lot of time spent on certain things that are probably more like, it felt like I was reading almost an instruction manual. Like I could have held off on a lot of that stuff when I still didn't see a lot of final smashes from a lot of characters. I don't know if the Miis can be customized or not. I don't know if I can play the Miis online. There just wasn't that much actual gameplay being shown. They showed like some cool gameplay in Spirits mode or World of Light, whatever it is, like that it's almost like event matches, and that's really cool. I like that. A lot of the matches are going to be themed after like the spirit or whatever you're trying to unlock in that one. So that's really cool. I do think it's going to be really fun. I like that Kirby was kind of like the sole survivor, and all the cinematics. Again, I love the Little Mac cinematic. All the cinematics were awesome. Got me super hyped. So yeah, I'm very excited for this game. Can't wait for it. Very excited to talk about, you know, what DLC characters we can get. So overall, I'm super excited. I just think my initial reaction to it was a little disappointing. Interesting thing about Piranha Plant, just as a final note here, is so I was always thinking if we got Box Theory that then we'd get Geno as like a final secret character, that there would be a final secret character. So I was right about that Box Theory wasn't totally it. There's going to be one more character. It was Piranha Plant and not Geno. But one interesting thing about Piranha Plant is if you watch the Japanese commercial for Mario RPG, it has like 3 piranha plants singing, and they're like puppet piranha plants, and they even have a potted plant that they're in. And generally when you show Piranha Plant, you give it the green pipe, but Sakurai chose to use the brown potted plant as its like main appearance. So I don't know if that points to the fact that maybe he's been really looking at like everything Mario RPG lately. Maybe because he's working on Geno as one of the DLC characters. It's obviously me being biased and hopeful here, but I thought that was interesting that Piranha Plant got chosen, and Piranha Plant is actually a pretty big part of Mario RPG, specifically in Japan, because of that commercial. So now we have this huge roster of characters here, so I'm super excited. We're going to get 5 more DLC characters and 5 more stages, which fits in with what Koro Magazine was saying with 108. So, you know, I don't know if that was just a lucky typo or not, but, you know, 108 is going to be our final stage count here. At least if that's the final amount. We don't even know. There might be more characters after the first pass of DLC, but I don't want to even think about that. I'm just going to be thinking 5 is the max because I don't want to, you know, hold out hope for even more characters, especially because it seems a lot of them would be deconfirmed. A lot of the possible ones would be deconfirmed if spirits do deconfirm characters. Now, again, we don't know that for sure. Trophies in Smash 4 didn't deconfirm DLC characters then. We had a Lucas trophy, we had a Mewtwo trophy, and we got both those as DLC characters. So if spirits are now a replacement for trophies, it's possible characters that are spirits right now could become playable characters. It does appear that there are spirits for some of the playable characters, and again, Geno is just an icon, at least from what we've seen so far, so there are definitely icons of some of the playable characters, possibly probably all the playable characters have an icon, I would imagine. So spirits being a collectible that replaces trophies and acts like stickers did in the last game, powering up your fighter, was totally 100% accurate. So that one that I leaked back in one of my old videos, a source actually came to me and told me that and wanted me to leak it out there, was 100% accurate. And I'm actually shocked about that. I even thought spirits mode was going to be a little different than that, but it was totally just that. I mean, there is a one-player mode, World of Light, but the spirits mode is exactly as it was described, which kind of shocked me. I thought it was going to be maybe close to that, but it was totally dead on. So I said in my last video that I had a little bit more to say about spirits, but I was going to wait until afterwards because I thought it was the better way to do it. Basically, all it was that there was a post on game FAQs, and I'll post this in the description of this video, and it had many of the same characters that were on the Grinch Leak and also hinted at spirits acting like stickers. So I was looking at that one. The one problem with it was that it's a riddle leak, so it's not clear exactly what characters are saying, and it even says some of the characters on this list aren't going to be playable. So I didn't want to push other characters into the whole Grinch Leak when everything was so heated at that moment. So that's why I wanted to keep that one till afterwards. And again, I'm glad I did because I don't want to push even more characters into the Grinch Leak. But I'll show you that that link, and it is interesting that that person also was saying spirits act like stickers. It was worth looking at. It might have been the first instance of potentially the Grinch Leak. I mean, the Chad Ganondorf thing had all 7 characters. This one didn't have all 7 characters, but it had a good amount of them, and said it had some other characters that weren't part of the Grinch Leak, but said some of the characters that were on it weren't going to happen. So, I don't know, just really interesting that it was calling spirits or stickers way back. This was a while ago when that one got posted. So someone did actually guess Ken, Incineroar, and Piranha Plant beforehand, but it was just a random 4chan post that got lost in the mix. So I'll read that one to you guys. It says, the last 3 newcomers will be Incineroar, Piranha Plant, and Ken as an echo to Ryu. Piranha Plant will be in a sort of car similar to Bowser Jr. So that is exactly what we got. Piranha Plant's in a little pipe potted plant, whatever it is, meaning the color you choose, and it kind of is sort of like Bowser Jr. being in his car, and then Ken and Incineroar added to that is exactly what we got. So yeah, random 4chan post, got it right. Now as for what leak ruffled some feathers with supposedly Square specifically, that's what Tanso was talking about, that I don't know. It might just be Vergeben talking about a Square rep in general. The one other decent one might be, honestly, Leaky Pandy, though Leaky Pandy even got the date of this direct wrong. They thought it was going to be like November 7th or 8th, I forget, but it wasn't November 1st, they were saying. And Leaky Pandy says that they implied that a Dragon Quest character would get revealed at the Video Game Awards, and that would be our Square Enix rep. So that might be it. It was probably the most specific Square leak that happened, but I don't know. Leaky Pandy's tough to say one way or the other. So speaking of leaks that are tough to say one way or the other, I want to go over all the sources that I have, all the people that came to me, because obviously Spirits Mode became a reality, but we didn't get the Grinch Leak, and I had a source that was kind of pointing towards that, but it'll be really clear exactly what happened. So I'm going to show you guys just a big list of my sources and what exactly is going on with them and go over it right now. Okay guys, so here's just a big thorough write-up of all the sources I had in this whole speculation period for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I want to go over it so everybody's on board with exactly what happened and who said what and everything. So my first source told me that spirits replaced trophies and acted like stickers did in the past games and powered up your fighter. That was 100% correct. So this source was totally right. They didn't have any info beyond that, however, and I still talked to this source, but they still don't really have any info. When the Grinch Leak came out, they were asking me what I felt about it. They were saying how they felt about it, and we were both sort of just perplexed by it, basically because Incineroar wasn't there, and we were just talking about stuff, but there was no further information from source number 1. But source number 1 has been 100% correct so far. So if they tell me anything else, I'll be very clear on telling you guys that it's from the same person who told me that, and hopefully any more information from them will also be 100% correct. So next is source number 2, and this is the person that usually when I'm saying my source, or I have been saying my source lately, I'm talking about this person. They have the best credentials and credibility out of any of my sources, despite being wrong about the Grinch leak, just who this person is, and they have, absolute proof of who this person is. I really, really trust them that they're telling me the truth, or at least trying to figure out the roster and trying to get information out there. I really do trust this person, despite the Grinch leak being false. So source number 2 has a Microsoft source who knew about Banjo for sure, and this is a chain of info. I want to be clear about that. So there's me, there's my source that I talk to, and then my source has their own source, a Microsoft source. Before the Grinch leak, they believed box theory. They were thinking Ken and Incineroar, and they were 50-50 on us getting a Square character. And they assumed Banjo must be DLC. Now again, their Microsoft source was telling them for sure Banjo was in the game. After the Grinch leak, their Microsoft source said that they had heard all the Grinch leak characters, but they had also heard Incineroar and were confused by the Grinch leak. So I don't know exactly what heard all the characters means. My source and my source's source seem to believe the Grinch leak, but hearing about all the characters, they may have just heard the name Shadow, the name Isaac, the Chorus Kids, somehow involved in the game. And if they are a Microsoft source, they might not know whether or not that was playable or what. I did hear a bit earlier on in the speculation cycle about how people would get information about, say, the next Direct, and they would know, like, K. Rool, but they would also know Rathalos, they would know Dracula, they would know Alucard, and they didn't know what role these characters played. Zero from, like, Mega Man. They would hear the names, but they don't know exactly what role. So, being a Microsoft source, they're probably a little disconnected from Nintendo, and that might have been all that was going on here, that they had heard these characters, so they couldn't say one way or the other. They were confused there was no Incineroar like everybody else, but we kind of were taking that as, especially because they were so sure of Banjo, and Banjo was part of the Grinch leak, that it probably was helping to confirm it. We took that as confirmation of the Grinch leak, but oftentimes hearing characters behind the scenes doesn't confirm what role they will have in the game, like I just said. Both of those first two sources said spirits equals stickers, and source 2 honestly has better credentials and reasons to be believed based on who they are. So even though source 1 was totally right about the spirits versus stickers, source 2 also said that that was what was going to happen, and again, they honestly have better credentials. I still trust this source, despite both of us being tricked by the Grinch leak. We are now back to assuming Banjo will be DLC. This source is only given info. So just to be clear, this source doesn't like go to the Microsoft source and really talk back and forth with them. They're much more just given information. So we have to just go off of what they're given. The Banjo thing we still think is going to happen. We just think Banjo is going to be DLC now. So that's what they thought initially before the Grinch leak, and that's where we're back to. So yes, I do still trust this source, and I know that the better option would be to denounce this source and just say, oh, they were wrong, tricked by the Grinch leak, tricked by some source, I was just being gullible here, is honestly the better move for me, but that's not what I actually feel. And I do want to tell you guys actually how I feel about stuff. So yeah, trust me or not on that one, I am still thinking Banjo is likely to be DLC, thanks to my second source. We'll see what happens with that. So now there's sources 3 through question mark. I don't remember exactly how many people came to me, but after I was talking about this source and stuff, and the Grinch leak was gaining steam, several people reached out to me with varying degrees of credibility, telling me what they had heard behind the scenes. I didn't believe all of them, as some had no reason to be believed, while others did provide credentials for who they are and seemed trustable. But I was wary of trusting anyone outright. So yeah, a couple of the guys who came to me after the first two sources actually did provide credentials and, were someone who seemed trustable, seemed to have a real way they could be getting information, but I was still wary of anybody coming to me at this point. A lot of the info I was being told did, however, start to line up, and there were some consistencies. Some of these sources said Nintendo was angry at the Grinch leak. In hindsight, it's possibly because a lot of people were believing it, and it was just hyping things up. Some told me Incineroar had been seen behind the scenes, and it was coming from the same source who had leaked other characters to insiders, characters that weren't known to the public, like Richter specifically. So they trusted Incineroar should be on the list of newcomers, but he wasn't there. So there was a lot of confusion. Among people who came to me, it seemed like all of their sources, or if they were a direct source, they were confused why Incineroar wasn't there. Some people had literally seen Incineroar, or at least told me they had seen Incineroar, and they said they were confused, but possibly he was DLC now or something. Some agreed Banjo was likely in the works from Microsoft, so there's that. Again, some of these people didn't have the best credibility, but some were backing that up too. Some said DLC was in the works already, which obviously now we know is true. That's an easy guess, but some of these guys were saying that. Specifically, and I I don't want to put too much credit or anything to any of the just random sources that didn't have much credibility or credentials, but just to say the names that I heard for DLC in case it does happen. I heard Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia, and I heard a Resident Evil character coming from Capcom. So put as much stock in that as you want. I'm just using it as a rumor at this point, really. So about 2 of these further sources, out of the source 3 through however many people talked to me, provided solid credentials. So I looked at what they were saying over others. So I was weighing these people kind of against each other and what they were telling me and what they were able to provide as who they were and where they were getting the information. People who didn't have any credentials, I just took their info as rumors and nothing more, but some things did kind of coincide. Some things were starting to line up. There were some consistencies with what I was hearing. So I was taking all that and kind of looking at it the same way I do when I analyze a leak. Yeah, we were kind of just going over all that stuff, and I was taking all that information, bringing it back to my second source, and we were just kind of talking back and forth. The theory that Banjo was a deal made at E3 came from talking to some of these more credible further sources and discussing what they had heard about Banjo with source number 2, and coming up with that theory, basically thinking that Incineroar maybe was dropped down to DLC, and Banjo was going to be in the base roster. Obviously, we were wrong, but we do now believe Banjo is still going to be DLC. So yeah, that's pretty much everything that happened with people coming to me and sources and all that sort of thing. I know that the better thing to do would just be to totally denounce source number 2 and just admit I was gullible for trusting that person. But honestly, based on who they are, I really do think they're credible. I am still looking at what they're saying, and they are still thinking Banjo is DLC. That was what they initially thought before the Grinch Leak anyway. So I am thinking Banjo has a really good chance at DLC. And then based on all that other insider stuff that I may have heard, I'm just taking all that as rumors. All those other sources just as rumors. Again, some of them had better credentials and credibility than others, so I am weighing that back and forth, but it's all just behind the scenes info, and I don't expect anybody to trust me outright on any of that stuff. This is just my own personal, what I believe and what I don't believe. Hopefully we'll get Banjo or something like that, and that will kind of redeem source number 2 in some way, and that their information wasn't just totally out of nowhere, but we'll see what happens. So now, while trying to guess at what these DLC characters might be, we really have to look at Vergeben, because he's been right the whole time. While the Grinch Leak was gaining so much steam and everything, he said Isaac is an assist trophy. I gave some plausible reasons why that might be false. He may have seen older Isaac, or older Isaac might have been heard, like just the name Isaac as an assist trophy, or it might have been Matthew, who looks like Isaac. So there was plausible reasons not to believe that, but that was totally dead on accurate. I don't know if he got that from Emily Rogers or if he had that himself, but for whatever reason he believed that, and yeah, it was totally right. So he said some more things after that. He actually does say that he knew about Piranha Plant. He says, I knew about Piranha Plant. I avoided posting it here because of the way things were. I posted about it on Reddit half a day before the Direct. So yeah, I guess he did know pretty much what we were going to get in the Direct. And then he said some other things. The Square Enix character is DLC. Minecraft very likely is too, given the situation now. So Vergeben's posted a lot post-game, and just I'm going to read some of the things that he's been saying lately. So first off, he said, I should probably state that Senjo Gahara Hitagi, who has a great track record if you look into them on Reddit, and is someone I talk to and cross-check things with since we have met, has heard the same things for Smash that I have. The only difference in our information has been them hearing that Steve from Minecraft will be playable, and discussions with Psy Games were happening to get a Grand Blue fantasy character, which seems to be Catalina in particular, into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. While I cannot personally back these two things on my end, yet from my personal sources, what we can do is consider adding up what I have heard and put out for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, combined with what Hitagi heard and has said, which could point us in a direction that reveals that 3 out of the 5 DLC characters seem to be a Square Enix character, I can vouch is definitely happening, and the first DLC character at that. Steve from Minecraft discussions happened that led to my knowledge that content is planned to be present. I have been told it could be an assist trophy, stage, item, or possibly a character. It looks like character, stage, and theme will be how if what Hitagi has heard is accurate. At this point, I do not doubt it much. Psy Games Grand Blue Fantasy getting a guest character, Catalina, mentioned by name. This comes from Hitagi, as I have said, but they seemed confident that the discussions happened on a serious level. Okay, so Vergeben is just telling us to really look at what Hitagi's saying because he believes him a lot. So Vergeben is saying that a Square Enix character is definitely going to happen. He still doesn't say who, but that they'll probably be the first DLC, so that's really interesting. Hitagi was saying Steve as a playable character, but then he kind of reeled that back and just said Minecraft content, which was what Vergeben was saying. So we have to just look at it's possibly just Minecraft content. It could, however, be Steve as a playable character. And then finally, Cygames being negotiated with to get Catalina, a Granblue fantasy character, into Super Smash Bros. As DLC. Now, Granblue is super popular over in Asia, but not super popular in the West. So this may be a way to kind of introduce that to the West. Fire Emblem was introduced to the West through Super Smash Bros. And Nintendo owns some stock in Cygames, so it does actually make sense to use one of the DLC characters to introduce that game series to the West, as being a part of Super Smash Bros. Always opens people up to that character and their series. So that does actually make some marketing sense to do that. So Vergeben went into even more detail about the Square Enix characters he's heard. He said he's heard 7 names, 3 are more reoccurring than others. Some were outright said to me were clearly not the one. So I still personally have a lot of hope for Geno. I feel like if there's 7 Square characters being told to him, Geno's got to be at least one of the names on there. And Geno being just an icon, again, I don't know if he's a spirit or not, but so far we've only seen him as an icon or a token, and I'm just going to hold out hope. I've held out hope for 10 years. I'm going to continue to hold out hope. And if Vergeben is right and the Square character is the first revealed DLC character anyway, hopefully it'll be Geno, and I'll get that pretty soon here. And then one other thing Vergeben has said about multiple Square Enix characters, he said, when it comes to hearing multiple Square Enix character names, I don't think the reason is because there are actually more than one coming. That wouldn't be a bad idea considering the names that I have heard though, but I don't think that's what's contributing to why. So he believes that he's just hearing multiple Square Enix character names because they want to prevent leaks, and that's just how Square is. They'll put out a bunch of names to try to trick everybody, prevent leaks, etc., etc. But it is possible we'll be getting more than one, but Vergeben doesn't think that's the reason. He thinks it's just to prevent leaks that he's heard 7 different names. Vergeben started talking about the Leaky Pandy thing with a Dragon Quest character appearing at the Video Game Awards, and again, that might have been what Tansett was talking about as some leak that ruffled some feathers with Square. I really don't know, but Vergeben came out and said this about it. He said, I did not say anything about me being almost sure that the Square Enix character is a Dragon Quest character. I brought up that Leaky Pandy heard the Square Enix character would be DLC, something we both wound up hearing, but he also heard that they would be revealed at the Game Awards, and hinted it being a Dragon Quest character. I am not backing what they are saying and bringing something to attention that people may not be aware that they did. So he's not telling us who the Square Enix character is. He is not saying that he believes Leaky Pandy and it's going to be announced at the Video Game Awards and it's going to be a Dragon Quest character. He just heard that they could possibly be a DLC character, which lines up, and he just wanted to get that info out there that Leaky Pandy had heard as a Dragon Quest character. He was literally just speculating like the rest of us, getting information out there that he had heard from someone else, not saying that that's who he believes it is. So what can we take away from all that for which DLC characters we could get? Well, it seems Cygames and a Granblue fantasy character, Catalina, has been being negotiated for, according to Hitagi, and Vergeben seems to back up what Hitagi's saying. So that's possible, though it's a little strange that this seems to be a more recent occurrence, and Sakurai implied that the DLC character pack had been decided a while ago as Rex was too new for it, thus he made him a Mii costume. So maybe we'll get more DLC packs down the road. I don't even want to really think about that, but let's just add Catalina to one of the 5 possible DLC characters we'll be getting. Another one's going to be a Square Enix rep. It could potentially be a Dragon Quest character, which in a weird sort of way, there was a lot of votes for Goku. Getting an Akira Toriyama design character would make sense, and Dragon Quest is really popular in Japan. It's sort of the first JRPG, so that does make sense. Personally, of course, I still want Geno, and I know there's a lot of people who want Sora. I don't know how that would work with Disney and stuff, and even Vergeben's admitting that it's possible we'd get more than one Square Enix character for these DLC slots. Totally possible, but he doesn't want to put too much stock in that. And then finally, he's saying that Minecraft content is in the game in some way. Hitagi was saying Steve is a playable character, but then kind of reeled that back and just said, Minecraft content in some form will definitely happen. So if my second source is to be believed here, the source that has a Microsoft source themselves, the one that has like a chain of information going, it's possible we could get Banjo, a Minecraft stage. I always thought Minecraft was best represented by a stage, and then maybe just music from Microsoft in general. That's totally possible. I don't know if the DLC packs have to be a character, a stage, and music all from the same thing. Sakurai wasn't specific about that, and the DLC packs may be more like company packs. Now that most of the characters from Nintendo are either an assist trophy or, if Spirits deconfirm them, Spirits, it's very likely a lot of these are going to be third-party companies anyway getting a spot. So yeah, that's totally possible. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. So my source, who has the Microsoft source, who's been telling them Banjo the whole time, I still do believe them, and I am still going to leave them, anonymous. I assured them that I wasn't going to say who they were, and I think the whole point of them coming to me anyway was to be anonymous, but get the information out there. So yeah, while I know it's the better move for just my own credibility and stuff, and I know people are going to have a tough time trusting this, I do still believe them. I do still think Banjo is very likely. So Phil Spencer talked about how Banjo would be okay to be in Smash in some form back in, I think, March 2018, and I was theorizing, based on what my source was telling me, that maybe Banjo got negotiated or fully negotiated, the finalized negotiation, maybe to get his copyright renewed, which did happen in September 9th. That may have happened at E3, so I'm still sort of theorizing that that might be the timeline here, that Nintendo was looking to get Banjo, was wanting to get Banjo as one of these DLC characters, but it may have taken all the way up until E3 to get him, so I don't know if that's going to be soon or not or whatever, but having Microsoft in the game, Banjo has been a part of Minecraft, and we're talking about Minecraft content here, so, having Microsoft on board in any way, it does make sense that Banjo could be one of these DLC characters, and I am going to stick with my source here. I do think they're trustable, and I know that's not the best option for people trusting what I'm saying, but that is literally how I feel, so I want to just be truthful about how I feel and, try to get some information out there. Hopefully some stuff will start to come out from other people or something about Banjo, and, it'll start to look more credible. Okay, so here's our final roster that we know so far, with Piranha Plant added as our first DLC character. Not part of the 5, though. He's kind of just an extra one. And then down at the bottom are the characters I'm looking at as potential DLC characters. I'll just go over all of them. We got Waddle Dee, who was pretty much the only purely Nintendo character that seemed to have survived the whole Spirits mode thing. Now, it's possible Spirits don't deconfirm characters and just assist trophies and stuff do. So if Spirits don't deconfirm characters, you can add Dixie Kong to the purely Nintendo characters that aren't totally out of the running yet. And also, as non-Nintendo characters go, Shantae could also be a potential DLC character if, Spirits don't deconfirm characters. Though I will say, Shantae's company Way Forward, some of the people have been saying, push to get Shantae as a playable character as DLC, and it does appear that the DLC packs are finalized already. That seems to be what Sakurai is saying. So I feel like unless there's more DLC down the road after these first 5, Shantae's probably out of the running anyway. So next I have just companies that aren't in Smash yet, besides Microsoft, and that's Catalina from Psy Games. Obviously that's coming from Hitagi. It could be introduced to the West. That could be the way to introduce that series to the West. So yeah, Catalina seems pretty likely. And then right under her is Rayman. We've actually seen the Rabbids as a spirit, so yeah, Ubisoft is still a part of Smash in some way. It is possible Rayman is being moved to a DLC character. Next up, we have 2 Namco characters. I think these are just the 2 most likely ones. They both had Mii costumes. We'll have to see if those Mii costumes return or not, but it's Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia and Heihachi from Tekken. Tales of is a really popular series in Japan, and Lloyd, the Tales of Symphonia game, is probably the most popular one, at least in the West, so he seems the most likely, especially because he got that Mii costume. And then Heihachi is sort of the face of the Tekken series. Also possible, though, Sakurai sort of passed over him in favor of Ryu for a better fighting game rep, but we'll see. He could potentially be the playable character. If I had to guess on another Namco rep, I would be guessing at Lloyd. Next up is Microsoft, and if Microsoft is on board, we did have crossplay in Minecraft, and we have Vergeben and Hitagi talking about Minecraft content being in the game in some way, and it hasn't been shown yet, so it's obviously going to be DLC in some way, so Microsoft's got to be on board. So if Microsoft gets a character, or potentially multiple, they could get both Steve and Banjo-Kazooie, that's possible, but I'm honestly placing my bets on it'll be Banjo-Kazooie as the character, and it'll be a Minecraft stage. That makes the most sense to me, but we'll see what happens with that. But I do think we will get something from Microsoft, either Steve playable, Banjo playable, both playable. We're going to get something from Microsoft, probably. And then finally, we have the Square characters. My most hopeful is Geno. I don't think he's out of the running because he's just an icon or token, and we'll see if he's a spirit. Again, it's possible spirits don't deconfirm characters. Like I said, you could add Dixie Kong, you could add Shantae to this list, but yeah, I got Geno on there as a potential character. So next we got Sora from Kingdom Hearts, also a very possible Square Enix rep. Be really huge, but it would mean getting Disney on board. I'm a big fan of Kingdom Hearts, so that would be cool. I know a lot of people are fans of that. It would make a lot of sense financially especially to push Kingdom Hearts, as Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out soon. So I will admit Genos' chances are a little less as a DLC character. I always thought he made a lot more sense as a base roster character, so I will admit that fully. And then I have Erdrick from the first Dragon Quest game. Now this could be Slime, it could be a more recent Dragon Quest character, but I just went with that again because of the Akira Toriyama art design. A lot of people voting for Goku, and Leaky Pandy saying that could happen at the VGAs. Again, I don't put a ton of stock in what Leaky Pandy says, but I do think a Dragon Quest character could make sense. It's really popular in Japan, so yeah, I have to look at that. Beyond these characters, again, I had heard from someone that we might get a Resident Evil character. They didn't say who, and that was entirely just a rumor. It was someone coming to me saying, hey, I have inside info. It's a Resident Evil character, I think. But I can't really back up the credentials super hard, so I'll just throw that one out there here just so I've said it. And I'll go over all the possible DLC characters, possible stages, everything else in more detail when I've had more time to think about it in a future video, but this is where I'm at right now. So just to end this video off, I am super excited for this game, guys. I can't wait to play it. And as far as the future of this channel goes, obviously we'll be talking about Smash DLC speculation, as we have that to go over for at least another 5 characters to continue talking about. And I will continue to talk about other things too. Any Nintendo Direct leaks or something like that. Leaks for, say, the next Pokemon game. I'll always go over leaks and stuff. Always go over Nintendo news. I might start doing maybe like game reviews or something. I might do some more character retrospectives. People seem to really enjoy those videos, so I may just take a character and talk about just their importance in gaming and stuff. People seem to like that. I might branch out into other non-Nintendo stuff a little bit, like I said, maybe some Fallout stuff. I'll continue to do Let's Plays on PapaGenos, and I'm sure we'll do a Let's Play of Smash Ultimate itself. I may do some other videos on Smash Ultimate once it's out. I'll have to see what's in there and what I can think about to do. And I'd love to do, you know, playing with fans and stuff online. So if you want to hop in my Discord or something like that, I'm sure I'll be playing online matches and posting matches for Smash Ultimate on this channel as well. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff I can still do, and I'm excited to continue this channel down the road. As a final note, I just want to thank everyone for following this channel through the base roster speculation cycle, and now we're moving on to the DLC speculation cycle, but it's been a wild ride, guys. It's been really fun. I can't wait to get my hands on the game, so I'm just really excited, and this month can't go fast enough. So once again, thank you guys for all the subscribes, all the likes. It really helps out the channel. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and do so, or like the video, or leave a comment, whatever you want. Until next time, have a good one.